Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Tank Observers podcast. My name is Jackson McCarty, as always joined alongside by my co-host Chris Barr. And Chris, what are we doing today?
Start bench cut again. We did it last time.
We did it last year. We just got done with the
And technically, wasn't that still this year?
semantics, okay?
Last season?
2020 has been long enough for a decade for all of our lives. So
Not wrong.
last draft class, we'll leave it at that. But no, we just got out of the buy or sell. We did a bunch of videos on those. If you haven't checked them out, go ahead and look at this because today we're going to be focused on some of the more mid-round talent guys, kind of trying to shine a light on who the best of the next tier is. So, without further ado, let's get off with the quarterbacks. The options are out of start, bench, cut here, which if you don't know how it works, you have to pick one of these guys to start, pick one to be the bench, and pick one to cut. It's pretty self-explanatory. We're going with Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati, Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh, and Brock Purdy out of Iowa State. Topher, kick us off.
All right, so me,
Yes.
I'm going to start Brock Purdy because Baby Romo over here is one of my favorite prospects in the class that's outside of the first round. Frankly, I don't think Mac Jones is necessarily first-round talent, but he'll likely go there anyway because it's Alabama. And he's not even as good as A.J. McCarron was, so I'm not really sure.
Let's calm down on all
I'm not really sure where he's getting all this hype. But his inconsistency is not going to scare me. I think that I love the way he plays, not necessarily the numbers he's putting up. I'm benching Pickett because he has plenty of room to grow. And as far as I'm concerned, his potential far outweighs his everything else he has going on. But I think he has the talent to get there someday. He's not going to be amazing. He might be. He's going to be a competent starter if groomed properly and if he has the time to grow.
Right.
And then Desmond Ridder sucks.
That's your closing remarks for your.
He's getting cut. I don't think he's good at football.
We have almost a reverse order. Nobody is in the same spot. I am starting Desmond Ridder because what he's been able to do with the Cincinnati team as they're in the top 10 right now, he is a dual threat quarterback. He's durable after taking a lot of hits. And he first showed up on my radar for the season opener of last year when he faced off against Chip Kelly's UCLA team. Didn't know a thing about him, but after watching that game, I was actually like, you know what? I'm going to keep tabs on this kid. I don't know that he'll be anything special, but he's grown into a better player. He's dual threat. He's got the ability in the NFL, and I think he could be a low-end – he could become a Minshew type of player where they kind of start when they weren't supposed to. In either way, I am going to bench Purdy. I love Brock Purdy personally. He's not doing what I want him to this year. His stats are a bit on the decline, but if anybody can bounce back in the NFL with some great guidance, I believe it's him. And Kenny Pickett's talented, but he doesn't bring enough to the table, and he's a bit too erratic with his accuracy past 15, 20 yards. He'll sail it. He'll hit their kneecaps. He doesn't quite find the money like I want him to. I think he could get above Purdy and maybe even Desmond Ridder, but for right now, he's on the chopping block for me.
Yes, he's hitting the bench for a reason. Ridder's also hitting the bench for reasons.
No, he's hitting the free agency market for you. But
you can pick him up since you want to start him so bad.
Hey, and I look forward to the day that I get to pick him up. But anyways, moving on to the next group, we're going to the wide receivers, and we have Tylan Wallace, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown, and we have Justyn Ross, who probably shouldn't have even be in this category, but due to his injuries, he has taken a bit of a backseat.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm a big Justyn Ross guy. I like all these receivers, honestly. None of them are particularly bad, so yeah. It's certainly interesting.
Yeah, it was a harder one to decide here,
for sure. But you're looking at me, so I guess I'm kicking it off.
Go ahead.
Usually you say it.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm starting Justyn Ross because obviously he's size and ability. He should be getting more respect than he is right now since he's dropped so far just because he got hurt.
Real far.
His size and his ability is easily at least mid-second round talent, but I feel like he's been falling even further. So he's my start for sure. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, which outstanding name.
Wild name.
Oh, so good. He's my bench. I like Amon-Ra. His dynamicism and explosiveness are A tier as far as this class is concerned. And that's definitely going to get him onto a roster earlier than some other players. I wouldn't be surprised if he like slips into the first round. Like, sometimes there's just surprise picks like Rashad Penny a few years ago wasn't projected to go in the first round at all. But, he found his way in there. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of those players that people are like, oh, that guy, okay. You know what? The Seahawks love doing that. They did with Jordan Brooks, Rashad Penny, and LJ Collier. I wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks are just like, no one's going to expect this. Yeah. And they take him just because, he's a good talent. And, people are going to be like, well, okay, but sure.
It's just like, well, all right.
It's everyone's attitude toward Rashad Penny. And then I'm cutting Tylan Wallace. And he's not bad. But out of the three prospects, he is my odd man out.
He kind of falls back in track there a little bit.
For me, at least.
For this one, I'm actually going to work in reverse order. I mentioned that Justyn Ross probably shouldn't be in this category because he was so highly touted coming into the season. When we watched tape, we have a big group post thing where we have a bunch of different tape reviews on a bunch of different players, and it develops throughout the season. One of my notes, and I'm going to take this verbatim so you don't get it twisted. I know Justyn Ross is high on a lot of experts' boards, but I'm not sure I get it. That was written up in May, and now his stock is starting to see that. And I'm worried that he is more of a Corey Davis in the NFL. I don't think he's a number one guy. I think he's more of a deep threat, sort of end zone guy. Just get a big body on it and pull it out of the air.
I completely agree with your take on Corey Davis. Is that I thought that the Packers definitely should have tried to make a move to trade for him because he would have looked great next to Devontae Adams.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I see Justyn Ross playing out into. As far as my bench, I'm going to bench Tylan Wallace. He's one of the more underrated receivers in this class. He's got such a great mind for football. Like, you can tell his athleticism's not there, but the way he thinks and the way he uses his brain to beat defenders is what makes him special. It's kind of like Terry McLaurin.
Yes, he's going to look so good coming out of the slot.
Exactly. He's got that.
He's so smart. He's going to be one of those guys who you're just like, how did he get so open? And it's just he knows how to work open space really well.
He makes the route. The route doesn't make him.
Yes.
So he's on a roster regardless for me. And then I'm starting him on Amon-Ra St. Brown because he is maybe the most versatile and well-rounded receiver in the class. I don't know that other than a bit of issue with his run blocking, I don't know that I can find a whole lot of problems with his tape. I really enjoy Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's not the best at anything, but he's consistently top 5 in everything. And,
I can see that.
Yeah. And like while you have your Rashad Batemans or your Jamar Chases or your Rondale Moores that bring that specialty and that real knack for doing one particular thing, Amon-Ra St. Brown could be this year's equivalent to what I thought Michael Pittman Jr. was.
I would have liked to see more of Michael Pittman Jr. I feel like he's been gone.
Yeah, he's been hurt, hasn't he?
I honestly don't know. I have no idea.
I believe he's suffering an injury on the Colts right now. But same school, USC.
Yes.
And
I saw that.
So yeah, it's a very likable comparison for me at least. That I think transfers over well. But going to number 3, we're taking it across the border. Not to Mexico, but to the defensive side of the ball. I don't really know where that transition was going. I just tried to roll with it. We're going to the edge rushers this time. We have Joseph Ossai, Carlos Basham, and Jaelan Phillips. Topher, take it away.
Okay, so I'm starting Phillips. I think Jaelan Phillips is just an exquisite talent he has a small sample size, which works against him. Yes. But I really think he's one of the most talented defensive ends that is falling out of the first round at the very least. He former 5-star recruit. He has a first step that he kills tackles off the line of scrimmage. And I would have liked to see more of it for sure, but health. Yeah. And
Just
I'm
struggles to stay on the field.
benching Basham, and my only note on that is that I wish I could cut him. So rather than bash him more than I already have,
Basham.
yes, rather than bash him even more than I already have, I will just get on to why Ossai is getting cut. Because if you want to watch what I think on Basham, watch our defensive ends. Because I go off. I go off during the linebackers one too. It's hilarious.
I'm definitely not a Basham guy, but
No, I'm not. But I'm even less of an Ossai guy. And I'll tell you why. Ossai is ridiculous. He is very quick. But he gets manhandled by strong offensive tackles. Even, Penei Sewell manhandles everyone. But strong tackles just toy with him, and I couldn't look past that and drop Basham down, even though Basham should be a defensive tackle since all he can do is run stop or steal his teammates' sacks. So that is why Basham's benched, Ossai is cut, and Phillips is frankly the only DN out of these three that I really kind of liked.
This is the first time in the video that we've completely agreed on one positional placement, which was be cutting Ossai. Neither one of us are all that impressed with what he's bringing to the table outside of speed, and that's a weird position to only have speed because you're going to need some finesse or some power to get around those guys. Didn't really even offer a lot in pass coverage. But
No.
I have Phillips on my bench, and that is because I can't trust him with a starting role yet. He has the talent. He absolutely has the talent to be, if not better than, at least equivalent to Quincy Roche and Greg Rousseau.
Yes.
Which all three play at Miami, which is ridiculous. Obviously, Greg Rousseau took the seat, but in a regular year, we might see all three of them playing together, and that is just a sad thought that we don't get to see that come to life.
You could easily see 3 defensive linemen with 7+ sacks at the end of the season.
Exactly. But he just can't stay on the field. And while I do really enjoy what he brings to a team, I don't want to give him the starting nod strictly because he might only be starting 3 games a year.
I can see what you're getting at there. Okay.
What I don't appreciate is your Carlos Basham hate.
Oh.
Because I'm a big Carlos Basham guy. He's not a stellar athlete, and I get it. But he does the right things to improve. That I don't need you to have an impressive pro day or an impressive combine because quite frankly, that's how busts get made. I'm not a big believer in combine guys. I don't care if you can run a 4.3 without pads. You're running with pads in the game. A bunch of scary people are going to be chasing after you. So that's where it matters. I love what Carlos Basham is willing to do to improve his game. He's a hard worker, and just overall, there's nothing that I can imagine him failing to improve upon in his game. He seems so dedicated to bringing himself up.
Yes, well, I was so not impressed by him,
You are.
so that's just where I stand.
That's fair, and I can't fault you for your opinions and whatnot, but that's just how mine fell through. Moving on to number 4, a name you'll be familiar with because Topher mentioned almost making him a so not impressed before he revisited the tape and discovered he's actually pretty solid. We've got Jack Sanborn, the man I was talking about, Monty Rice, and Nick Bolton, the linebacker category. And I'll go ahead and take this one first.
Go ahead, it's your floor.
Call me old-fashioned, but I love a linebacker who is just going to maul offensive lines and punish the run game. Enter Jack Sanborn. Because, man alive, he's the old style. I don't care if you want me to play coverage. I don't care if you want me to line up against tight ends. Whoever is in my line of sight, their helmet might pop off. Because, I mean, he is such a strong figure, and he is developing a bit in coverage. He's not a strong suit yet, but what he's already bringing, I like a lot of. As far as my bench, give me Monty Rice. He would be a starter if he was about 3 inches taller, because 5'10", 5'11", is it? Doesn't quite cut it in NFL standards, but he is such a good player that he should be on rosters. Either way, even if he fails to stick on the defensive side of the ball, as a blocker or as a tackler on kickoffs, I think he should remain on the roster no matter what. I'm cutting Bolton here because, quite frankly, he is very versatile, but he doesn't offer enough in one specific category and kind of lags behind the others where their strong suits are very well suited.
I appreciate everything he had to say. It's just that we have different views on linebackers, I guess, because I am a sucker for a 3-down linebacker.
Fair.
I am. I need a linebacker that can not only play defense or just basically kill running backs. I also need someone that's going to be covering the tight end. Enter Monty Rice as my starter. I am a sucker for Monty Rice because I did watch. I did a little extra film watching on him, looking for flaws, but I got sold. He was actually rather talented when it came to both run stopping and pass coverage, and I like linebackers that can cover in zone. I think man coverage is more of a strong safety thing when it comes to tight ends. I don't care for linebackers that cover anything but running backs. But Monty Rice, and he's actually 6'1".
Really?
Yes.
See, I thought it was
Monty Rice is definitely my starter. He's the most polished out of the three, and he's a 3-down capable linebacker. Now, my bench and my cut I was so close on these two because I also love Sanborn. I wound up cutting him because despite his immense physical talent, and he has a whole lot of it, he's a little too one-dimensional for me. He's barely capable of covering man, and he gets lost in zones, so I couldn't do it. And Bolton, you're right. He doesn't bring as much as either of them do to either side, but he shows that he could grow into a 3-down capable linebacker. He's actually a little bit more on the cover end. Doesn't really nail the running backs the way I'd like to, and his pursuit's a little sloppy. He gets behind the guy rather than running in a straight line after him. So while he needs probably more work than Sanborn does, it's just more that Sanborn can't cover the zone.
That might be the most agreeable one that we've run through, where we think all the players are the same, but it's just a simple issue with how we like to have players play. So I found that interesting because so often we are very cut and dry and no to what you're saying, but this time it actually kind of worked out for the nice. But now we are on to our final one entering the secondary. We've got Kerry Vincent Jr. from LSU. We've got TJ Carter from Memphis, and we have Marco Wilson from Florida State. Go ahead and take this one.
Okay, well, I'm starting Kerry Vincent because, well, I'm a sucker for DBU, LSU.
Fair.
They just produce so many guys, and I think Kerry Vincent is going to be one of them. He is so fast, and if he could polish up either coverage, because admittedly, as much as I love the dude, he's a little bit sloppy on both. He's not very good on opening his hips to follow the receiver, and his zone coverage, if someone gets behind him, he has that recovery speed, and he shows it often because, well, frankly, most of the time the ball is underthrown for some reason.
Right now he's more of an athlete.
He is an athlete, and I think that he's going to have value as a return guy probably to any team.
You'd hope.
But really, he needs to become a little bit more polished, but as of now, that speed, he just has so much potential. So I'm throwing him into the fire, and I want to see what he can bring and what we need to work on. So he's my start, and I was really close to giving it to Carter, who's my bench.
Yeah.
Because TJ Carter is so aggressive on press coverage. He will stuff. He just stuffs receivers at the line, and they just get lost. And he's shut down. He puts a receiver on an island. Yes. You could leave him alone in man coverage. Maybe not at the NFL level, but certainly in Memphis.
Yeah,
you leave him in man coverage and just cover the other side of the field.
Said we'll worry about this 2/3 from now on.
You got him.
TJ Carter, you got this.
And then we got Marco Wilson,
who is very much the antithesis of TJ Carter.
He's getting the Derek Carr treatment here as he is getting cut. I don't trust him because Quincy let me down. And frankly, he struggles in pressing man.
I think he's a bit better in zone schemes and can play man. He's just not aggressive. He doesn't do enough to mess up the receiver. And that's also why he ended up in my cut spot, because as you'll find out later, and like I mentioned earlier, he is very much the opposite of what TJ Carter is. And I like a guy who's going to get physical. It's why I like Jeff Gladney so much last year. And he's starting to come along in Minnesota, apparently.
Yeah, taking him long enough.
Yeah, but either way, I like a guy who is going to be able to stuff him at the line and just cause problems as soon as the ball is snapped. Marco Wilson, unfortunately, does not do that, so he ends up getting cut, much like his brother in the league. TJ Carter, for Quincy Wilson's his brother, for those who don't know. TJ Carter is going to get my start here. A lot of what Topher said, he's great in press man coverage. He can shut down one side of the field, and he's got the abilities to make up for that zone as long as he gets more touches. Because, quite frankly, Memphis just didn't run a lot of zone. It wasn't that he's not good in it. It's just that he didn't have enough practice in it. And that leaves Kerry Vincent sitting in my bench spot. Let him learn some reps behind some other guys and let him figure out how to really utilize that speed rather than just relying on it.
Yeah, I guess we're taking different approaches to how to handle that.
Very much so. You're saying get out there and figure it out.
Hey, if you mess up, that's what safeties are for.
Well, Lord knows he'd be able to catch up to him. But either way,
terrifying.
Yeah, that was the return of start bench cut for me and Topher.
Yes, it was certainly fun. We're gonna have other stuff next time.
Is it a bit relieving to not have to do the buy or sell thing now that we've kind of rebroadened the horizons?
It was exhausting.
It was exhausting having to go through each class individually. But it got done and we're better off for it. We know more about the class now.
For sure.
And hopefully you guys do too. But anyways, that has been it for myself. As always, I'm Jackson McCarty.
And panties are way more comfortable than briefs.
We'll see you guys next time.
But is he the best player in this draft on his own? Without a doubt.